Hey guys, welcome back to Spy Plays. Today we have a response video, and it's going to be from our friend Jacob, also known as Bad Dog. How you doing, Jacob?
I'm doing well. How are you, Jesse?
And I'm also accompanied by Alex here to give us some more insight. How you doing, Alex?
I'm doing great. How's everyone doing on this fine day?
Pretty good, pretty good. We're just gonna go quickly into talking about how did you get your name in the CDH community, Jacob?
Oh boy. All right. So I have been doing EDH and CDH for a long time, but I finally joined the uh, r/ competitive EDH Discord,
Mhm.
probably their 2017 tournament, and I was playing Kalia, which is at the time it was even at the time it was kind of like a meh deck.
Mhm.
It was a casual deck, and immediately got flamed on for bringing something that's different, and that lasted for probably at minimum 2 weeks, just every single day, getting flamed. Um,
Wow.
that
Okay.
that was my intro to the.
Okay. That
It's
That
pretty
is that
intense.
that is fair. And then, but you did start running like leagues, right, with the CDH games. You kind of like split off and did your own thing after having negative experiences and running CDH games, right?
So yeah, so what happened was basically I gave 3 years. I figured, okay, you know what, this is actually fine. I can get better as a Magic player, and
Hmm.
so I did a lot to just improve, took things in stride.
Hmm.
And basically did that for about 3 years, um, until like I finally there's some other things in here like the uh, one of the things that I was kind of had this mantra of is that I wanted to take these bad commanders and make them good, hence
Hmm.
Kalia.
Okay.
Uh, and so that's actually where like my name for that time came from, is Bad Dog, is I wanted to sort of have something that made the word bad not really a big deal for these kind of different decks.
Okay.
Um, and then there's more. There's yeah, that's the big thing.
Right. And then
So
so
yeah, so
yeah, you made that, and then you started running the leagues, right, with CDH and games. Is that what it's called? You started helping out in the Discord.
yeah, so a few friends and I got tired
Uh-huh.
basically of everything, and I eventually just yeah, I just gave up on that stuff. I said my mind. I talked back to more of the enfranchised people. We split
Right.
off, did our own thing, and the focus was basically that we're gonna do, because at the time nobody was people were playing CEDH, but it wasn't really like they weren't playing EDH competitively. And it's like, well, screw this, mindset stuff. Let's actually do competitions. Let's do these, weekly events.
Right.
Let's train. And
Right.
so I probably did close to 100 of those things in the CDH games days. That became a very important server for really driving the format during the lockdown years.
Hmm. And you guys,
We
you like compiled a bunch of data. You're very data driven. I mean, you work in academia, and you work in that field. What is it, archaeology? Correct, right?
so I'm currently an archaeologist, but I have a background in evolutionary psych, evolutionary anthro.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, doing
So
these
yeah,
kind of.
you work in that field, so you're very familiar with statistical stuff, and you really like gathering all these statistics. And I know people have said like, oh, statistics don't matter and all that, but it really does help with building decks and like panning things out, even in CDH where there is
Statistics
variance.
don't matter only if you use them incorrectly. That's the
Right.
bottom line.
Right. So it is pretty cool that you started doing that. You were growing pretty big with like the games thing, and a lot of the players from there were doing pretty well.
I'd say it was
And
wildly successful.
yeah, and then out of kind of left field came this cancel document on you, and this document just came out about systematic whatever they were calling you these things abuser and all that when they're not true, but it when you spread it around the community and put all these big names in it, it does kind of spread around, and it's hard to get people to see through it necessarily. But how did that affect you, in your real life, and how did that hurt, what you were doing?
Um, yeah, so there's a lot of things that were kind of going on in that cancer document. It's not one thing.
Right.
Actually, again, you can tell that the different writers are they're keeping secrets from each other,
Right.
and they don't have all the same, amount of information. So like some of the writers in there are being coerced into it. Other ones are, they didn't know what was going on. It's a mess, and like that would take hours and hours and hours to unravel. You know the story, but it's
Yeah.
not a straightforward thing. And that's not to say like, because so there's a few things. Number one, I had like just doing these different projects, it's gonna rile up a lot of jealousy. So then that's like, the main author's motives for doing this are basically financial. He wanted to run a CDH World Championship. He wanted access to these domain names that I own.
Right.
He kind of felt that there was a lot of competition going on, and he wanted access to the players. So it's not this, and that's not to say, it's not this straightforward thing that it presents itself as. And
Yeah.
so when that thing hit, it was pretty horrible. Basically, it tore up a lot of friendships that I built over the years.
Mhm.
I had straight up panic attacks. I think I went 7 days with no sleep.
That's insane.
Yeah, if I did sleep then, I honestly don't remember it. It was
Right.
really like I just remember not sleeping at all.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, if I had this document like this spread about me, I could personally see like how that would affect me, and that's just like so horrible to be spreading this around, and it's knowing
All that was just brutal, and
knowing the
like
full story. You were like walking away from the game basically because of all this stuff. You're like, I'm not gonna deal with this. I'm just gonna leave. But then that's when Garrett, right, was contacting you because Jacob's a SoCal, native. Like he's one of us down here. So our friend reached out to him like, hey, you're gonna come up, play in our local stuff. And I think from that you started coming back into the community, right? That's when you started like coming back. You're like, oh, I'm not gonna deal with this online drama stuff, and I'm just gonna, play with my friends in real life. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I basically gave up on the online stuff. It's like, nah, I don't need this stuff. These people, this community stuff with all the clout and all these other things, it's not worth it. I mean, Garrett, so what's really funny about that is he hit me up like probably about a week before the cancel document happened, and he was asking questions on deck advice, and then it happens. He's like, man, I am so, he's like, I've been in a situation like that. I've had girls, I've had a girl say this stuff about me, and it was all lies.
Yeah.
And he's one of the few people that saw through it off the bat, and then he just kept hounding me for like 2 months. When are you gonna play? When are you gonna play? And I was like, bro, I'm done. So,
I did my time.
Yeah.
yes, and if it wasn't for him, I don't think I would be playing still. But yeah, no, it was playing at Finch and hanging out with you guys was just, it was something for me. I wanted to sort of push myself and do more, but I also kind of wanted to just, it was just something else. It was just, doing something for myself, but then also like being able to teach you guys about the game, be part of building a new community, really from the ground up, like helping you guys just helping it get refined.
Yeah, I mean, Alex can attest to this. Like locally in our LGS, the owner, everyone playing there, no one had in the like. We heard about the cancel dog and stuff, and I know like me and Alex went over it and we're like, oh, that's kind of weird, but we just kind of like saw through it, and then also like we're like, if he's like really this horrible person like they're saying he is in this document, like it'll show through. So he can play at LGS. You can talk about it too a little bit, Alex. But
well, I mean, I read through it because John messaged me about it, and
right.
that's how I, kind of learned about this. Who is this bad dog guy, right? And I looked through it, and I saw some things that I thought were some inconsistencies with provided screenshot evidence versus the claims being made. So I decided, I'll sit down and I'll rely on my own experiences. If there's indications that any of this is true, then okay, I can live with that, and I'll work with that knowledge. And if it's not true, I'll rely on my own experiences, because how am I going to judge based on something someone else has said if it doesn't align with what I'm seeing? And yeah, you came in very early on to these these local tournaments that we're having consistently, and you're like you were kind of laying the foundation with a lot of us. I mean, these tournaments started out really small, and I mean, a few months ago we hit like a 40-person tournament, right? That was huge.
Yeah, no,
And
seriously.
we're having these, bi-weekly, but they're happening very consistently. And yeah, just having these early adopters come in, like Jacob, you really helped build this scene, and you contributed a lot.
Yeah, he definitely did. No, it definitely was nice to have you there. And then you also you started up, Discord again a little bit to kind of reach out to some old friends, and kind of bring back those days. But you just made it a little bit more private to get away from the drama once again, right?
Well, we were straight up getting harassed. Like there were alt accounts. So
Yeah.
every time I logged on, there were directed alt accounts. Some of them that were being put by some of the people on that cancel doc. They were using people to spy on us, and there was a couple of incidents where I just said screw it. I'm just gonna do my own thing with my own people. Like I have all this format knowledge, and it's like screw it. I'll do my small thing with people that I trust and I care about. I'm gonna if they want to be awesome players, hell yeah, let's do it. Let's train. And if they want to just chill, that's cool too. But it was just sort of the private stuff. I put all that kind of love and energy and work into the CEDH Games server, and after that I just kind of decided I don't ever want to do anything for the larger masses ever again. I'll contribute to smaller things. I'll contribute to my local stuff. I'll contribute to my friends. I'll contribute to people that helping get people better.
Yeah, you just didn't want to be taken advantage of again, right?
It's that, but it's just also people. So like the thing is, it's not just people. It's not that like a lot of people believe the cancel doc, because many did, but there were other people that didn't believe it but didn't care
Or didn't say anything to back you up, right?
Right, and that almost hurt more than anything else, because it was just like, all right, here's what we got. And that's not to say I'm a perfect person, by the way. So like there are times, because the thing is, you got to understand when you're modding a server like that and you're dealing with these very competitive players, you're always going to be dealing with hairy situations. And yeah, there are some things that I could have done better. But at the end of the day, what that thing is you have these writers that are mad because there's arguments on Discord. That's it. Like,
yeah. No, I mean, genuinely, like the only true things in there were just arguments on Discord that were not, yeah.
I think like the most damning
percent.
thing that you can zero in on and say, you were hot-headed in this situation and you should have handled it better, or you were too confrontational here. But I think we can probably agree that's like not something to take to the court of public opinion and decry a person over.
And I don't think in any tournament that has been hosted by any Magic organizer or anything, there's been just arguments that people have had during games. I've played modern tournaments. People have been kind of, rude to me before, and sometimes it happens, but they didn't ban them from the tournament.
This also isn't like a situation like the quartering where you're spraying hateful information and you're like harassing parts of the player base, and Wizards decides enough is enough, right?
But,
yeah,
that's not what was going on.
No,
but there are. So like, there are people that have been using alt accounts to harass here. It's not me.
Right.
Our people have been harassing, people in our group.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and we'll get into that a little bit too. With San Jose. We wanted to go to San Jose, and John and Alex did end up going. So Alex can definitely talk about this a little bit. But basically, we caught wind before I even decided that I wasn't going, because I had some family stuff to deal with. But before that, people were already messaging Eminence and saying, hey, friends of Bad Dogs are going. I don't feel comfortable going. Like, kind of insinuating that they should, ban us from the tournament just because we're friends with them, or that they should look at us more carefully, or that, you know, like insinuating because we are friends with you that we are guilty by association, which is just so negative. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess Alex can go more into this too.
Yeah, well, I find it extremely concerning for the competitive future of a format if indeed we can look at players and without without any evidence of wrongdoing that would affect a tournament, there's no cheating going on, there's no plans to collude, nothing like that. There's you're not getting thrown out of the tournament for public decorum reasons or anything like that leading up to the tournament. I don't think it's right that we should make this judgment call and say, we gotta disbar these players. And realistically, I'm not sure what going to a tournament organizer with these sort of complaints, what you're expecting to happen other than that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're saying like, ooh, these people make me uncomfortable, what is the alternative besides, like, I don't know, something with like bracket, make sure you don't match up with them? But that would be way more messed up.
Yeah,
No way.
that wouldn't even work. But luckily, I mean, you went there. You didn't have any problems, right, Alex?
I had zero problems in person.
Okay,
Silicon Dynasty was excellent for meeting with lots of people online and
yeah,
people that I hadn't met before, and just getting together with old friends too.
Two of the players that we play with pretty consistently both made top 4, which was awesome. You and John didn't do like the best, but you guys did okay. I think you did all right with the Thras bottom.
Yeah,
and
I kind of washed out.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it was.
I didn't even get to go, so I washed out even harder by not going. But anyways, it was a great event. I'm honestly glad Eminence hosted it. They've been hosting awesome events, and that'll get into the next thing, which was the thing that's restarted all this drama again.
Elephant in the room, right?
The Mox Masters. And Jacob, you had asked before, like you can tell me going into Mox Masters, like what did you do? I guess to prepare yourself for this, and also asking for permission to even just join.
Right. Okay. So there had been several content creators actually that were pushing me, like, you got to get playing these online events. You got to play in these online events. It's like, nah, man, I'm good actually. But so I finally gave in, and they've been telling me to go in undercover, and I was just like, no, we're not going to do it that way. Like, I'm not going to. Okay, what if they catch me? Like, what? This just feeds this whole friggin' narrative. If we're gonna do this, it's gonna be by the book, and it's gonna be cool, and it's gonna be calm. And so I hit up the people who run Mox Masters, and I was like, hey, would it be all right if I play in one of these events eventually?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, here, just sign up today. We've got a spot left. Take it. It's like, are you sure?
Right.
I'm like, yeah, sure, totally. And like, do you want me to go under an alt account? Like,
you're right. You even asked them for that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was straight up.
You just didn't want to cause drama. This isn't like you hiding from the cancel document. I don't want people to perceive it as that. Like, you're not hiding from it. You just don't want to cause drama. Like, because you've been harassed so much.
You're bringing the fight into their backyard.
Yeah. You've been getting harassed so much. People harassing us for just being friends with you. You just don't. You're trying to stay away from the drama, and that's why you haven't really come out from all this. And now you're just like, you know what? I just want to play Magic Online and play the deck I'm good at, and maybe do well in these Mox Masters. I just want to be a normal CDH player like everyone else.
I mean, some of the people on the cancel document have actually apologized to me.
Right.
Like, they.
Yeah. We know. But you can go into the Mox Masters thing.
Yeah. So the thing about the Mox Masters is like, okay, does playing with Power know about this? And they're like, yeah, you're playing in the fishbowl, so they know. And I was like, all right. Double make sure. And they were like, yep, nope, everything's cool. And so it's like, all right. I showed up. I, was there. Like, I went through by the book. I barely said anything in the event. As I started to do better, people are like, oh my God, this is you coming back. I was like, no, man, I'm just here to put on a show. Like,
yeah. I mean, yeah, you were doing really well. And if people don't know, you did really well. We'll probably do a deck or like some type of video on you winning Mox Masters, because it is an awesome event. So Jacob did end up winning Mox Masters, going through all rounds. You didn't have any problems, right, with any of the people in there? Everyone was like cool with it, right?
As a certain very popular player on Kinnan was mad that I was feeding Ristic Study too much, or Mystic, I can't remember, one of those things. Too much. That was about it. But the rest was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like,
so yeah, someone got
yeah,
mad that you fed Ristic. There was no like harassment, no issues, no misgendering, because that was in the post as well that some people kind of misconstrued, but that was a different situation.
I don't even think it was this tournament. I think the misgendering thing, from what I've heard by various organizers and such, was
Mhm.
that it was actually a different tournament. So not even this thing. But yeah, no, there's no.
Yeah, by someone completely different, not you. Yeah, just to clarify.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I barely said it. I hate politics. Like, I barely said anything in the games until probably the last one, and by that point,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
tired. And
We've kind of learned that like
yeah,
over playing. Once you start playing against better players, like the politics go down really low, for the most part. At least from what I've played, and like, yeah, it gets gains in lower tier pods, I guess, like people that are newer to the game. It helps more, but yeah, we're not here to go over that. We'll do the whole other video on that. But
Just as
yeah,
a little side note, it was very exciting to see you actually enter this big tournament, this big online tournament for the first time in who knows how long, right? Not just
right,
these smaller in-person events, and actually go the whole distance, and seeing
yeah,
that live streamed on Twitch,
it was
man,
awesome.
that was a special moment.
It was really cool.
If you didn't see it live, you missed out because the chat's not there anymore.
It was funny. But yeah, we were just going like crazy in the chat, like typing "big dogs gotta eat" and stuff, and spamming this like dog emoji. But it was like we were just messing around. But yeah, so anyways, you win Mox Masters. We should be celebrating. Everyone should be like, "Let's go! This is awesome!"
And we did. We
And
had one good night.
yeah, we had maybe one good hour, and then it just it kind of started going again downhill with people saying, "Oh, how could you let this person in?" and everyone spreading this document, again, and now it's being spread to Playing with Power and Eminence, and they're getting harassed, saying, "How could you do this?" And how did you take that?
I mean, I was basically calm for the first week. It's like, okay, things are gonna be what they're gonna be.
Yeah,
The problem is that there was so much pressure put on the tournament organizations that they basically felt that they were afraid that they were going to get canceled, and so they
yeah,
put out a series of documents, pretty not pretty unimpressively written, but
right,
they basically say an abuser or somebody who has done past abuse was in
right,
the tournament, they apologize, then this is this thing.
yeah,
So there's problems with that. So and this led to some things down the road where I ended up getting LGSs who the owners that I know and I'm friends with are saying, hey, please don't play until you resolve these issues.
right,
Um, so pretty devastating there. But on top of that, while I understand the perspective of the tournament organizers and the content creators with this thing, think about it this way. You aren't saying allegations of abuse. You aren't saying,
yeah,
you're not leaving any doubt. You're saying this person's an abuser based on hearsay from a Twitter mob and a
pretty much, yeah,
poorly written Google document. So, and not only that, but my real name is now tied into those accusations and stuff. So you
yeah,
want me to apologize for and self-label myself as an abuser for arguing on Discord with people? I'm sorry, but you need to think about what you're asking here. Now
yeah,
that's not to say that, like, because I've said it several times here. In fact, I brought it up. Yeah, I can be absolutely an argumentative person. I've lived overseas in multiple rough countries. I have to be in some rough situations for my job, but that's not abuse. And
right,
I think calling this stuff abuse trivializes what real victims of abuse are going through. And if you look at the people that are in there, it's all very powerful people in the CDH community. Like, these aren't.
yeah. No, it's pretty sad, and it's funny because I mean, Alex can talk about this too. All those, not all those, a lot of the people in the document, we have had very negative
I've had
situations
unpleasant
with.
I've had unpleasant interactions with several people in there on just like a personal level. Just
Yeah,
brushing on and off, but that's sort of the thing about the establishment, like powers from this format, I suppose you could say. Really, just like a lot of the established big names, it's not the same as it was back in Flash era. But if you played during Flash era, you definitely know that how a lot of this, there was a sort of elitist attitude, and
Definitely, yeah.
it felt like you were kind of getting like looked down on or sneered at if you were playing things that weren't on the decklist database or weren't considered to be optimal by the community, really.
For sure, no, definitely. Like these
And it
people
wasn't
were
data
very
driven, but that's
no,
what
not
it
at
was.
all. Yeah, not at all. And those people would say data doesn't even matter, you know. And it's just like, yeah, it's weird when there's one person they write all these things about, they're all this stuff, and then you meet him in real life, and you're like, this guy's super cool. Like, what the heck? Why are they so like rude to him? And then you meet them in real life, and you're like, dude, you were rude as hell, and you were just like mean, and like, I don't understand like how like this happened, like this situation happened. You're just kind of like, oh, that's why it happened. Like he was argumentative toward you, and you guys kind of came back and went toward him because like, yeah, this document and everything, we're
And
gonna
isn't that the most telling line about the document, though? The very first bullet point of things that you should be familiar with: lack
Right.
of respect towards individuals with positions of authority.
yeah, when I saw that was very, we're gonna go into like addressing these allegations, and this is the point. If you want to, you know, start seeing where we break down this document, this is where we're gonna start it. But yeah, the first point here, you know, lack of respect toward individuals with authority. What is that? Is that in like a bannable offense? Is that that's just very odd thing to put in there as the first bullet point, you know? It's almost like they wanted to shut you down in a way. How do you feel about that bullet point, Jacob?
I have plenty of respect for good authorities.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's
Respect
Yeah,
is earned.
right. No, respect. Yeah, that makes sense. Respect is earned. Let's see
Yeah.
here. Then we'll go over the next stuff here.
Inability to relinquish control over discussions, people, or groups. That's very vague.
Super vague, yeah.
I think even to put that in the most charitable position, that would be saying I don't want to relinquish control of a conversation. Well, in what context? Do you mean like when I'm being a moderator? Do you mean
Right.
like do you mean in a casual setting? This is it's extraordinarily vague. If you're talking about things as a mod, well, you know, mod's got a mod, and it's part of the reason why I don't really want to do that. It's part of the reason why I don't do that stuff anymore.
Right, yeah, you kind of like realize that it's doing this stuff, and
Well,
I think I
just to add
told
on,
you. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to interject that talking about control over people, I find this one to be very much false. In
Yeah,
many
I
of the
do as
interactions
well.
I've had with you, it's really focused about building up other players to be better and to improve their game. It's about elevating those around you, not making sure that they think the same thing.
I've
Because
actively
disagreement is encouraged.
yeah, speaking of that, I've actively made fun of Jacob's deck and like been like, why aren't you playing something to remove like something, because he only had Skyclave in his deck to remove like any hate permanent, and he's like, oh, I'll just Praetor's Grass for the answer. So we like make memes about him, like we literally make memes about like joking about his deck, and he's never once like been mad toward me or anything for me like actually like just dumpstering his like deck that he's worked on for like 3 years, which is hilarious. So like, speaking of someone that's like inability to relinquish control or lack of respect, and I don't have a position of authority on Jacob, and he fully respected what I said about the deck and would be like, oh, okay, that's cool. So it's just very odd reading these things, and we're like, that is not like, going back on this document after we know Jacob personally, it's so funny to like read, honestly. But yeah, we'll get into the next one. Inability to receive feedback on themselves or project. Again, you've easily received feedback from me and Alex and John, like everyone in the group. Like we all help each other in deck building and all give pretty good feedback, and we'll argue with each other. We never get like nasty or anything, and so it's pretty odd that these are even written. Let's see, the next one is diagnosing and attribution of negative mental health conditions. Okay, as a method of discrediting discrediting individuals distinctly narcissism and sociopathy. So for that one, you can kind of talk about that one a little bit, but they're trying to say that you would call someone, you know, narcissist, sociopathic to like belittle them in a way. So what do you have to say for that one?
Right. So this is a certain user who's taking stuff is purposely taking stuff out of context.
Okay.
It's so diagnosing and the narcissism, sociopathy and stuff like that. Well, so to explain this particular stuff, narcissism is a construct. There's narcissistic personality disorder, and there's narcissism, which every single person on this planet has. Everybody has narcissism to some degree. When it becomes something bigger, it's when that part of you basically dominates the entire personality. So like, you can say somebody is behaving narcissistically, but that's very different than saying they have narcissistic personality disorder. And the person who made this claim is conflating use of these words from, you know, just a way to describe behavior into a medical diagnosing context. So the sociopath one, I never called anybody a sociopath, which by the way is not a medical term. I said somebody was I said that something was sociopathic. That's actually the quote. And it's not I'm not interested in diagnosing somebody. The fact of the matter is you don't actually need to. In that particular conversation, I was talking in a private mod chat about somebody who was behaving very poorly, and I said that the behavior was poor. I said the behavior was sociopathic. That's not the same thing. Sociopath isn't a medical term. That's not what they use. Like, sociopath is describing an antisocial behavior, meaning something that is against the group as a whole, which this very much was. I'm sorry, but it was. Like, again, not a medical diagnosis. And the people saying this, they just simply don't understand what that is. And I do find it funny is that, you know, I have interestingly also been counter-diagnosed by the same person who is making these accusations, who goes around saying that I am a narcissist. Also, this same person now runs the well-being channel on r/competitive EDH, where they basically dispense free psychiatric or psychological
Interesting.
advice. Right. It's sort of a little bit of some hypocrisy there.
Hypocrisy. I mean, this whole document is hypocrisy.
To briefly harp on that point a little bit more, though, even if you do call somebody a sociopath, this also isn't a medical term, so it's fallen out of favor for use. I mean, you would say like antisocial personality disorder, that would be something you could diagnose somebody with. Sociopath it's just kind of a vernacular term. It would be like somebody calling another person a moron and saying, why are you commenting on their IQ? That's not a term that's actually used for that anymore. At one point it was, but you can't really say that this is like somebody trying to make a medical diagnosis.
We need to read the literature on that. I actually didn't know if in the 1970s it was a medical term. That was more of I may be incorrect about this. I need to do the reading. But I think even back then it was more of a sociological term, or to talk about somebody who'd been sort of conditioned into these very antisocial behaviors because of society. Hence, sociopath as opposed to psychopath. So even back then, when it would have been more, you know, sort of medical, and I'm going to throw the air quotes up for that, it's like, So, but
this is the problem with this document, though. When you look at these individual claims, you get kind of bogged down into the weeds of each individual claim because there's so much to unpack there. Exactly. But there's so many claims in there that it's going to take forever.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. we're getting through these. But Jacob, they're not relinquishing control of the discussion and bringing up 17th century psycho. No, I'm just kidding. Attempting, let's see, that was the attempting to curate relationships and provide a platform to problematic and offensive individuals who have been removed from other communities. So this is like getting into people that they've made banned in the past, and I guess actually I don't even know what the hell's going on here. What were they referencing here?
So it's a dig at two individuals, which the author has conflated. Because the author doesn't understand. The author is actually confusing two separate individuals. He thinks it's one guy, but then the person he was told about this to is another guy.
Okay.
So the one user that this was supposed to originally be directed towards is sort of a maverick strip miner who strip mined a certain famous Reddit moderator, banned as a result of that.
I got banned for strip mining someone.
Yes, it's a long story. But
Wow, that seems like a great reason to ban someone.
Yeah, and well, the irony about that particular
Data-driven and objective.
Well, so after CDH Games came down, that user, contacted some of our friends, like, yeah, you're welcome to come back, just message this moderator. And it was like, at that point, he got all the red flags, and he's like, nope, screw online.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
The other person that the author believes this should be directed towards is for somebody who was a very sort of controversial CDH player, a very well-known person, but somebody who was really ostracized by the community for bullying and being, quite abrasive in Discord chats and other places.
Okay.
The thing is, and when that guy was brought into CDH Games, so I actually did not want him there because I had actually been bullied by him, interestingly enough, years before. But once he was there, it was like, all right, you're here, you get a one-strike policy.
Right.
And yeah, it was like, if you do anything, you're out.
You're kind of treating others how, you would want to be treated if this situation would arise, right?
Well, yeah, that's pretty much it. And then we let him play, and he actually never violated it. And like,
he's still in there. If you look on CEDH Games, I'm pretty sure, right? He had his opportunity and he did not waste it.
Well, what I basically learned was that this individual had a lot of IRL problems, and there were basically there was a lot of things going on with him, and after a certain point, yeah, I get the past. I even experienced it myself, but at a certain point, it's got to stop, and you just got to be, rule of law. Like, nope, okay, he did his time. That's it. It's over. He did his time, and now we're gonna move on. He got the chance, and so that's what that was. I never platformed him. I never promoted him to a position of mod. There was none of that. It was just he was
allowed to stay because the problem behavior was no longer present.
Right.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. If you get, if I get kicked out of a tournament and they say, hey, you got kicked out because you were cheating or did this thing or you were being rude to some players, and they're like, if you do that again, like, you're gonna be banned, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not gonna do that again. Like, you take that criticism and you use it productively, come back and you're a good person, then you get to play. Like, people can learn from their mistakes. And
limitations, really. He has his limitations, but honestly, he's one of those people where, like, he did everything we asked for,
right? And you were just being a moderator. That's simple as that. So we're gonna go to the next thing. Use public humiliation as a method of embarrassing and controlling others. That sounds really loaded. Like, what is that about?
It's probably referring to the Courthouse channel on CDH Games, I would assume.
Is that it, or?
So there's a few ways that one could interpret this, and there's probably a few different. And I'm actually fairly confident that there's a few things going on there. So I'll be as charitable to my opponent's side as I can be, and then we'll go the other way. So one of the things that CDH Games was sort of designed to be different from places like the r/competitive EDH Discord is that you couldn't really be creative. You couldn't debate card design. You couldn't debate deck design. Really, you couldn't suggest that you couldn't really deviate from the norm. Let's just say in terms of your magic creativity.
Right.
And so we sort of had this attitude of, okay, we are going to tolerate a certain level of debate. And so some of the debates, yeah, you're going to be debating, and some of them did end up getting rough. Like, and this, there's good and there's bad to that. There's one thing where it's like playing a mod, but then there's also, you'd have people brigading, our server. And it's like, okay, well, how do I deal with this stuff? We're a democracy. We're not going to just ban off the bat, which is something a lot of people don't understand. For CDH games in that day, it was a democracy. Everything had to sort of go to a vote first.
Right.
So we're not going to just ban somebody immediately because they're, yeah. And so to this point, I think this goes back into the criticism here would be that I'm argumentative again, which we've already discussed. And,
Right.
I agree, frankly, yeah. And I do think that there's some things I could have handled better there. But on the flip side, and this gets into more of the political aspect of this thing, I do think there's a reference of this, which is to the courthouse. And what the courthouse was we were going under this philosophy that we're going to do our mod logs public. And some high-ranking people in today's current CEDH sphere did some pretty nasty things. And we were like, yep, we're going to put your name up there. You screwed up. You're on there. Sorry, I don't care if you have a popular YouTube channel. You may not behave that way. And one, probably the most high-profile one, which this particular comment is going to be referring to, is a very popular content creator and moderator essentially held several content creators and just a player. They kind of extorted them back when we were running the Mean 16 event. They basically said, we're going to deplatform you from these various things that we're in unless you do XYZ that we want. So in that, we put his name up in the courthouse after that. And I think that really is the one that they're talking about here, is that incident. But
Okay.
yeah.
Don't be ridiculous. These screenshots are fake.
Yeah, right.
These screenshots, not the ones that we're gonna provide though, because those, we will have a lot of like stuff below, and so we'll talk about that. But the last thing we're gonna go over is attempting to subvert community rules, warnings about appropriate behavior by towing the line between explicit rules and actions. This just, I hate this. All these things just seem so vague and so hard to like dive into. And I mean, we're doing this now, but like, they intentionally made this very hard to get through for sure.
Well, the appropriate behavior by the social standards back in Flash era, before we had COVID, the huge influx of people, was that you don't really question or argue with established deck building choices, right? Just play your 5-color sliver food chain and shut up.
Pretty much.
Well, that's, a certain a popular content creator made his whole video about how I've got this cool Kalia deck, but if only I wasn't such a, abrasive, or, to use his word, abusive, player. Well, the fact of the matter is that back in 2017, 2018, 2019, I was getting flamed and harassed almost daily by people saying, my deck sucked and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, I got it, I was not the best Magic player and I had to learn. But the fact of the matter is, you wouldn't have that deck if it hadn't been for me keep going or continuing on and not giving up. And it's like, that whole era, it's like, okay, you're mad at me for being argumentative. Come on. Maybe there's something I needed to argue back against there.
Right. Yeah, and they're just very hard to go over. But the primary accusations, and we'll go over these things, is like the abusive, and that was toward 2 members. The documents are going to be below, so those members' names and stuff, you'll be able to see it there. But so the abusive things, I mean, we've gone over that. You weren't actually abusive. We're going to have the full document refuting the abusive claims right below. You have that documentation?
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to go and reveal that.
For the abusive, like, refuting the abusive claims and having the screenshots and stuff, I would like that to be down below.
That one's very central with a lot of the allegations,
which is fine.
Specifically the abusive. But
Yeah, because that's what a lot of people are coming at you for, that abusive stuff. So like having all that and showing that, we can talk about it a little bit, but yeah, I guess we can talk about it. You can talk about a little bit on what was going on with the player that was calling you abusive for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, let's just cut through it, which is that there was a certain a certain female community member who was trying to force me into a relationship. In her section of the document, she says she drove to my family's house. That's incorrect. She flew as many as 9 times. When she got there, she would always do it under the pretext of visiting her brother or a friend. And then mysteriously, those people could not go and house her. So I had to go and take her in. And because she was friends with members of our mod team, there was a lot of pressure to continue catering to this person. I had probably hundreds of phone calls from this person. I have a screenshot, which is many times we're talking like 10 to 15, sometimes into the 20s of calls a day from this person. And it was overwhelming. I said, and she wanted a relationship. I said, nope. I didn't reciprocate on any front. I just wanted to be online friends, really. And the thing that she's saying that I'm abusive about was finally yelling at her in a voice call to say, no, and it's too much. She was triangulating other users against me.
Yeah.
And she started a fight. Basically what happened is she started a fight. All right. So I took a week off of Discord during Thanksgiving, and I started dating a girl that I actually grew up with and was a local family friend, because she was in town for a bit. And I came back onto Discord after a week of no social media, and I immediately got flamed so that goes back to that sociopathic thing, which is, I was going over a case, an older one. It's like, hey, did this guy apologize? And the mod said, nope, this person never apologized. Like, damn, that's sociopathic. And so I ended up getting flamed with like a page long of text. I tried to calm them down. I was like, nope, this is not, I'm saying that this is not a medical term. No, I'm saying that this person behaved poorly, and I'm following up on an old case.
Right.
And that she started going and DMing other people. Those other people started coming at me.
That's where it started, right? The cancel doc started to build up from that. Yeah. And that's kind of like the basis of it. But yeah, we're definitely breaking down the base on this thing.
Yeah, I mean, she basically triangulated other people towards me on that point. And it's like when you're getting, 15 messages from a whole bunch of people that now have been told this horrible thing, it's like it's definitely terrifying.
Right. Yeah.
But so that's the thing that's abusive, is I basically told her to stop in voice call. That's it.
Really
that's literally it.
It's insane.
Somebody who I spent, I was up till 4 a.m. talking them down with drugs. This is somebody who I'm the one advocating for them to get help. I'm the one that's solving a lot of their online fights. And after a certain point,
you're like, why am I doing this?
The line she has in the cancel document is me saying, don't treat me like a therapist, which is, yes, I think that she was sort of, and I did not appreciate it. I do not appreciate it. And that's it.
Yeah, that is fair. Go over to the next thing. People tried to. So the next big thing is, transphobic comments.
Transphobia, yeah.
Yeah, where we know you personally, so it's obvious there's trans people in our community that we play with.
Well,
completely fine.
Part of the problem with this one also is that now with the statements from Playing with Power and Eminence, and talking about the transphobic comments in Mox Masters, it reflects poorly because
Yeah,
I'm not sure about both of them, but at least one seems to insinuate, or people were interpreting as
they're just
such,
badly
that you were
written.
making
Yeah,
the transphobic comments, which was not true, and
yeah,
intentionally misgendering people during the event, which is not what happened.
yeah. And I mean, you can talk a little bit about this, but like, obviously, you are not transphobic, and you have actually helped trans people in the community. And I think you said people reached out to you that were trans that after the cancel document, right? Where they were reaching out.
Yeah, so the first person who actually reached out. So I've let me let me take a step back actually. So I have been there for multiple CEDH players who are coming out as trans, and I've been actually been an activist for this for trans rights since as early as 2010.
Yeah.
Really studied a lot of this in school. Uh, it's I have family members that are trans. I feel pretty strongly about this particular issue,
Right.
and not only that, but even though this there's these allegations, when I got canceled, 2 out of 3 of the people who kind of helped me, download all my messages and make sure I was safe were trans. There
Yeah.
was 2 straight guys in that phone call, and one of them was me. Like,
Yeah.
like no, like people. I've had some people wondering, if I'm like angry towards the trans community. It's like, no, actually, certain members of the trans community who will remain anonymous were the first people to go and try to help me.
Right.
And I am forever indebted to them.
Yeah. A big reason we're not naming names and stuff is because we don't want this hate that has been going around in the community to spread to other people. We're standing up for this, and we're tired of it, but we don't want anyone else that has helped or has been nice to Jacob to get any backlash. That is like a big thing. And so the next thing is like xenophobic. That was with one comment you made toward a certain player from, I believe, like Latin America, and you just commented in their language, I believe, and then they took that out of context. It's in the cancel document, but they took that out of context saying you're xenophobic. Is that right?
Basically, yeah. So we were fighting, and this is.
And you even, just to clarify too, you also said you were sorry for how you handled it to them before too, right?
I have not yet, but I
You
do
have
need
not?
to
Okay.
talk with them at some point because and basically what happened is a mutual friend of this player and a mutual friend between him and me.
Mhm.
We started talking, and he brought up some points, and I went and I read through 58 pages of text to try to figure out, okay, what the heck's going on here.
Mhm.
And I did it, and I do actually see this player's side. I do see why he could come to this conclusion. He's not as innocent as he portrays himself in this cancel document. There are some things that he did wrong that triggered some. Yeah, I mean, but the fact of the matter is, like, what he's talking about here is that I started. It seemed like he was having some trouble with trying to understand. It seemed like he was having some trouble with what was being discussed at the time in terms of rules and other things, and so I started responding in Portuguese and Spanish, and it came off to him as demeaning, and that just really wasn't the intention.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think if that was the situation, I would also like respond to them in the language if I didn't think they spoke English very well.
Right.
It's just kind of like a normal thing to do, but then like you send in, you're like, oh, that maybe didn't come off right. But this isn't something you put in like a document later. Like this just seems like they mashed things together. And I mean, we'll finish this off. Like we kind of already talked about the xenophobic thing. Like obviously you weren't thinking of that. All of this is just saying like he's, they're trying to portray you in a certain light when obviously, I mean, we went over this discussion, how you felt about it and everything. And it's just not true. It's like me and Alex have seen who you are. Everyone that sees who you are immediately believes your side because they're just like, what? This is not the person that I've hung out with or talked to. And it's just so like mind blowing.
Unfortunately, yeah, it feels in a lot of ways like an amalgamation of distinct, unconnected allegations that are really just bundled together to try to label you as a persona non grata.
Right. Yeah, and it's just really sad. And yeah, the last thing is argumentative. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Do we need to
cool.
talk about that more?
Yeah, cool. You're argumentative. You're not banned for that. Like, sorry, you don't ban anyone because they're argumentative. It's just not a thing.
To be fair to be fair to people on that is something that I have been working on.
Yeah.
Just chilling out more.
And you definitely have. I mean, in our games and stuff, like, you definitely chat out more. I mean, we've seen you get like argumentative, and it is
But
never
you make
once
a
crossed.
conscious effort to be civil.
It's never
and-
once crossed into abusive or
Yeah.
anything like harassment or anything. The most harassing I've seen is from the people on the other side. Like, actually, just harassing you. I've seen you harassed more than anything. I haven't seen you harass anyone, and I've just seen constant harassment from other people. And it's really sad. Yeah, I think we've definitely gone over it. I'll definitely be like cutting up the video and putting it into different sections, but all the texts and stuff that we're referencing will be down below. If it's not down below, and you need more references and stuff, because we're going to be sending this out to certain people, we will be able to provide more context if needed, to the people that need to hear that. But yeah, the posts by Eminence and Playing with Power definitely,
They need to come down.
yeah, I think they need to come down for lots of reasons. They're just very inaccurate, and they're based on an inaccurate statement that was made by people who had definite gain from putting down Jacob, as we've shown. And yeah, I honestly hate all of this, and I wish I could just play CDH, but it got to a point where I just was tired of having someone that has been awesome in the community, to us and to everyone that I've seen, just get shit on constantly. Honestly, like, it's not cool to watch that, and it's not cool if you're one of your friends that you know to be a great person has all this stuff written about them, and it's false, and people coming out about it. But I think it's gotten to the point where enough people
It's
in the community.
inaccurate. It's unproductive. Who does it really benefit to keep going after this?
I would.
Many of these comments are from things that happened in the past, and even assuming they are true, like we've said about users before, it's fine to look at somebody's mistakes in the past or things that they could have done differently and look and say, hey, I'll give you a chance to make good on that, and if you want to do that, then the door's open. And
I mean,
if you're going to change your behavior,
all the
then
times,
there's no reason to have a problem.
all the times that he's been in any event that since his cancel doc has been posted, and even before that, or at least not before that, after that, we've seen, and he's had public showcasing, it has been nothing but positive. Like, the only negative has been from people attacking him. Like, what did he do in the Mox Masters? He won. He won, and he had great games with everyone. Like, there was no issues with those games. Our LGS tournaments played in, I want to say, probably like 40 plus tournaments, and made it to like our league finals, and didn't have a problem. In fact, was super nice, and most people frankly were like, oh, hey, could I get some help with building this and doing some stuff? He's been nothing but positive for the community.
He's a pillar of the community. Let's be honest. He places the development of other players very highly.
Oh, 100%, which is sad to just see this happen. And yeah, it is. I'm glad that we can get this out. I wish that we didn't have to do this to just show people that he is a really fun person to play Magic with. But yeah, I'd highly recommend you guys to look at all the stuff below and come up with your own thoughts and everything. Just read all the evidence and read all the stuff going on. If you are going to have a judgment onto this situation, I would highly recommend to be fully informed. And yeah, I think that's pretty good. Do you have any last things to say, Jacob?
No, well, I'm not a perfect person, and there are definitely things I wish I could have done better. That's for sure. But I think overall, I did a lot. That's left a lot of positive impacts, and I did do my best. It was an era where it was lockdown. The CDH community was sort of abandoned. And I did my best to kind of give it all and be a good leader in that time. There are some screw ups, there are some things I regret, but I think the people who made this cancel document are I think that they're aware of how disingenuous they're being. And I think and that's really it. I think they know that they're motive, guys. Motive.
Yeah, if you look at it, there's definitely some things going on that don't seem right, for sure, when you really look at the full picture. But yeah, I think that'll be it. This is Jacob, also known as Bad Dog's Response. Thank you, Alex, for coming in.
Thanks for sticking it out with everyone if you're watching it for this long.
Yeah, this is a long video. This isn't really meant to be like a video on our channel, and we're not going to be doing trauma stuff, by the way, if that's what you guys are thinking. So this will be the only video on that, and I'll probably be unlisting this after a certain amount of time, just to have it off, because I don't want it like interfering with the other content. But yeah, it'll be a link that you guys can click on and stuff if you ever interested in learning about this situation and wanted to know the full story. But yeah, thank you guys. See you later.